Barton. I'm chair of the forum. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the Kings Barton Forum on Thursday, the 9th of July, and the time is 6 p.m. This meeting has been held virtually and in accordance with the Council's rules for virtual meetings. And the scheduled time, end time for this meeting will be 8 p.m. So hopefully we can all work together to achieve that. Councillors are reminded that although this meeting is being held remotely, they are regarded as being present in a meeting of the council and should observe all the normal rules of behaviour. First of all, please can I ask everyone present in this virtual meeting that your microphones remain muted and your camera is turned off whilst you are not addressing the meeting, as this will reduce the background noise and avoid any unintentional disturbances. And if members could also ensure your mobile phones are also switched off or on silent. This meeting is live streamed from the Council's YouTube channel, and the recording will also be available after the meeting, and subtitles can be switched on, and advice on how to turn these on is set out on our website. Councillors and officers, where appropriate for each item, please indicate if you wish to speak or raise a point of order or explanation by raising your hand using the hand icon on your screen, and I will invite you to then speak at the appropriate time. And each councillor will be invited to speak in turn. Therefore, I would encourage everyone to keep your contributions as clear and as concise as possible. And I'd also like to welcome the members of the public to the meeting, and I will invite you to turn your camera on and keep microphone when it is time for the public participation part of this meeting. So thank you. So moving on to item 1 of the agenda. Nancy, have you had any apologies, and indeed any deputies?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've had apologies from Councillor Eve, for whom Councillor Rutter is deputising. Right.
Thank you, Jane, for deputising. And anyone else? And have anyone joined while I've been doing that intro? I see Councillor
Warwick, I think. Yeah. Oh, and Councillor Batho.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we're getting close to a full house. So item number 2 is disclosures of interest. This one always troubles me because this actually is a meeting of city councillors, county councillors, and parish councillors. So by definition, we're going to have members on it who are not necessarily city council. But Jackie has got her hand up, and we'll start the process of declaring that interest.
Thank you. I'm going to declare an interest as I'm also a Hampshire County Councillor, but I am acting tonight as a city councillor at this meeting. It's a non-pecuniary interest, but I'm also answering questions that we've questioned Hampshire County Council about. Yep. So it's complicated, but I'm declaring an interest that I am a councillor at both places, but I don't have any pecuniary interest, and I have been given dispensation to speak on both.
Yep. Thank you, Jackie. And James.
Just like to do the same as Jackie, please. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. Well, I think it's slightly less complicated for you, as I don't think you are acting as the communication officer person for county council.
I'm totally in the capacity of a Winchester City Council on this call, Steve. But absolutely, just to declare that other interest.
Okay. And I guess Councillor Warwick and Councillor Todd might also want to chime in the same regard.
I don't need to, Steve, because I'm no longer a county councillor.
Sorry.
And yes, I'm here in my city capacity. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
That's no worries, no worries.
Councillor Todd.
Yeah, I'm here as a county councillor. At the county council, we don't normally declare district interests, but obviously I am also a district councillor.
Yeah. Okay. I think I may ask for advice from through Nancy. Maybe we could clarify through our monitoring officer what the procedures should be for these forums, because it does seem a little bit, obviously we do need to declare any pecuniary interest, but this county council, city council thing seems a little bit of unnecessary. Anyway, moving on. Jackie, if you could just shut down your camera, not that we don't want to see you.
Apologies.
Sadly, you just got to have me on your screen for most of this meeting. So, firstly, there's a small oversight in the agenda where we need to determine a vice chair to cover should I not be able to make a meeting. Do we have any nominations? I have a hand up for a nomination. Jackie.
Can I nominate Councillor Johnny Morris, please, to be the Vice Chairman?
Okay, thank you. And do we have a seconder? Jane, would you like to?
Yes, I'd like to second that proposal. Thank you very much.
And perhaps I should have asked Councillor Morris if he would like to be before I got the seconder, but Councillor Morris.
Too late.
Fortunately, I would like to be, so that's okay.
Good.
I'll consider me the Vice Chair. Thank you.
And well, actually, I suppose we need to check whether there's any other nominations. It's not usual that we get multiple nominations. Okay, I've left it open for a tad. I don't see any other nominations. So, Councillor Morris, we continue where we left off last year. Right, second item under Chairman's announcements is this, and it's regarding the community governance review, which is, you know, covers the whole of the unparished area of Winchester, but also has a part of it which relates to Kings Barton, and because it relates to Kings Barton, of which a good chunk of that is in Headbourne Worthy, it also affects Headbourne Worthy. So as I think all members here will know, there was a stage 1 consultation which led to a proposal and a paper that was heard at the Licensing and Regulation Committee in March. And that paper included a recommendation for a stage 2 consultation, which opened early in May and ran through to the 24th of June. Wanted just to give you know, a quick statement as to the current position of that process. And basically it's this: the stage 2 consultation for the Winchester Town and Kings Barton Community Governance Review closed on the 24th of June, and the council's consultants on the CGR, an organisation called Public Perspectives, are currently analysing the results and compiling a report in conjunction with City Council governance officers, which will be reviewed by the Council's leadership team and will then be made public in August, together with the recommendations for implementation, which will be considered firstly by the Licensing and Regulation Committee, which excuse me, I just checked here, which I think is has already announced there will be a meeting in public on the 6th of August, and then dependent on the outcome of that committee meeting, if they recommend it would then go forward to full council on the 20th of August. Any new parish councils to be formed will come into existence in April 2027, with the first elections held in May 2027. The date for that Licensing and Reg Committee has been set as the 6th of August, which means that the papers will actually be available. They should be available at least 5 clear days beforehand, which in practice means it will be on or about the 30th or 31st of July. And between now and then, there will be a member briefing for city councillors and the relevant parish councils, which will bring those people up to speed with the content that will be included in that paper. The process for managing a community governance review is laid out in legislation, and I'm at this stage unable to say more than what I've just said. I hope that is satisfactory. So if we can move on from my statement there, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. I'm just going to pull over these. So firstly, can I just ask members here if you can confirm if those meetings are agreed as a fair recollection of the actual previous meeting? Can I just see if you want to just open up your mics and say agreed or disagree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agree the minutes.
Getting some thumbs up. And hopefully, if anyone disagrees, perhaps do say now. Okay, I'm hearing we're good with that. So I'm just going to look through them and just highlight some matters arising and see really when we can I just ask if anyone's got their mics? That's quieter now. That will be great. We'll just quickly go through it and see what any particular matters arising are, and we'll try and identify where in today's agenda they will be covered. So the first item that I can see there was around the electric charging points. Now, I think it's later on in the minutes. There was a query last time from the KBRA, or the Kings Barton Residents Association, for anyone who doesn't know what that acronym stands for, regarding the electric vehicle charging points and the ability for residents to charge overnight. There's a bit of a challenge there in terms of the charging rates. And I think this action is sitting with Carla, so I'm going to ask Carla if you can at least touch on that and what actions you're have been able to take in your section later on the agenda. What else we've got? Just going to go through. I think Councillor Todd took an action regarding study work in relation to the between the southern junction of Winchester Avenue and the city centre. City centre, sorry, and that's in relation to just an understanding of what the county might be doing. And I'm going to ask Martin if you're happy to wait until the county council section, which is at I think number 8. We can cover it there. I think probably where it naturally fits. Where are we? And excuse me while I just go through this. Just reading my notes here. Okay. I think there was an action there on Carla to confirm that the southern junction would include light control, which I believe it does, but hopefully you can confirm that in your presentation a bit later. And yes, as regard to the presentation slides, that would be really useful if we could have those, or at least something close to that. So Rupert and Alison, if we have something that as a record of what was said in terms of the timetable, and if today's meeting's presentation supersedes that, then let's start with that. It's helpful to have that, and then we can make sure that if any questions come in that are out of step with that, we can at least point to that as if you like the sole the truth of the matter in terms of timetables and so on. I think those are largely the things I've picked up. Anyone else pick up any matters arising that they would want to see covered later on? Hopefully not. Right, so where are we next? We're next on to public participation, and I am first going to ask Chris Poulter, who has registered to speak. If Chris, you want to come and join us and talk us through your concerns.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much. Just get some of the glare behind me so you can see me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand I have 3 minutes, so I shall be brief. Firstly, I just want to put on the record about a bollard safety issue. These are the lockable bollards at the end of Courtney Road, which were installed by Carla following concerns raised through this forum several years ago. Their purpose was to prevent vehicles accessing the cycle path between Kings Barton and Worthy Road, and to protect pedestrians and cyclists, therefore, from improper use by vehicles. 2 months ago, a child was injured when an unskilled metal bollard fell onto his foot, and the incident has been reported both to Carla and the City Council, but we've not received an acknowledgement to date. I recognise I have no right to expect a response here and now, but my request really is to Carla to please acknowledge the incident, explain what investigations have been undertaken, and to set out actions to ensure that those bollards are safe and fit for purpose in future. I've 2 further points to raise in my remaining 2 minutes. The second one is about the potential Carla development off Courtney Road. Again, I recognise that this development sits outside the formal remit of the Kings Barton Forum, and that the planning process is the correct route for representations on the application. But the proposal is causing understandable anxiety and interest in the local community. The Abbots Barton Community Group, of which I am the chair, it represents Abbots Barton residents, and so we are establishing a new community forum that will meet periodically, where we can discuss matters relating to this development, amongst other things. I've had discussion with at least one of the local councillors. Councillor Eve isn't here tonight, but Councillor Tippett Cooper is willing to participate. And given Carla is the developer, I extend an invitation to Carla representatives to attend and participate in that as well. And that gives us then a constructive and direct channel for engagement between Carla and the affected residents. My third point and final point is about, again, the relationship really between the Courtney Road development and the Kings Barton Forum. I recognise that proposed development is outside this forum's scope, but there will inevitably be issues of common interest affecting communities both in Abbots Barton and Kings Barton. Those could be things like active travel links, Barton Meadows Nature Reserve, shared infrastructure, the impacts of construction, and the delivery of Section 106 commitments, that sort of thing. So recognising that the Kings Barton Forum has no formal role in relation to a possible development of Courtney Road, where issues do fall within this forum's terms of reference and affects both communities, I hope it will be possible to raise them for discussion here, potentially via Councillor Nathan Eve or his representative, so that we've got a common position on areas of common interest. And that is it from me.
Thank you, Chris. That was fairly clear. Thank you. So, Chris, the normal practice here is that you are welcome to stay on for the whole meeting, but given that you might want to, sorry, that's my timer saying it's 3 minutes, that you might want to depart. I'm going to ask Rupert or Alison, who are here on behalf of Carla, to just address your question around the bollards. I think they are aware of it now, so I'll ask them to see if they can respond to you and at least put to your mind at rest that something will happen, or they're on the case. So, Alison, Rupert, you look like you look like we're looking at you through the security cameras.
I'll try and
I'm sure your room's cooler than my room.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes,
Councillor,
can hear you fine.
Yeah, apologies. I'll try and sort the camera out in a little bit so you can see a bit more of us. But yeah, with regard to the bollards, we sent our contractor, our ground worker, up to the bollards, to the entrance to the site yesterday to have a look and establish what's happened there. But I think the long and short of it is we'll be replacing those bollards with a more robust product. So over the next week, or two, I expect to have a proposal from our ground worker Cam, and I will happily share that with the forum, so you can see our intention, and then we'll get those installed as quickly as we can.
Okay, that's great. Chris, does that in terms of that issue, is that satisfactory for you?
It is completely, yeah. Thank you very much. Just appropriate bollards would be perfect in that location.
Yeah. We still need them to be collapsible for access, but we appreciate that they need to be more substantial. So that's what we'll get the right product in there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And if I could ask that your response goes, I think, Chris, you've written directly to Carla, haven't you? So if your response could go directly to Chris, by all means copy me on it, and we'll make sure that rather than relying on the forum to act as an intermediary on that particular point. Councillor Porter, I think you did you come in with a question there on the chat?
I did, which was that you mentioned that a child was injured. Did that person report the injury, and if so, to whom? Because no action's been taken about the injured child.
Yeah, the child was injured. The event was a Scout association. It was a meeting of the Cubs. So through the sort of Scout association, that has been reported. The child was injured, but it didn't require hospital treatment in the end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So moving on to the Courtney Road development and the relevance or not of it being covered within the Kings Barton Forum. I'm going to ask if Julie Pinnock, who is the Corporate Head of Services covering planning, who I think is online, if you could just provide a bit of advice for all of us, and all members, and including me, as to how to regard this Courtney Road and its relationship to Kings Barton from a planning point of view, and then what is the proper process for residents or parish councils or any other interested party to raise their concerns through to planning, and in essence just clarify what role, if anything, Kings Barton Forum could or should take in that regard.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I think firstly you have to go back to the terms of reference of the Kings Barton Forum, and that is in respect of this 2000 scheme major development area for Kings Barton. In terms of the Courtney Road allocation, that's a new allocation in our recently adopted local plan. We know the reference, it's W4, which allocates about 150 homes. I think we have to be really careful that we don't merge the two, and I appreciate that's what Chris was sort of asking for, where there's overlap. But actually, whilst there's an allocation, we don't have a planning application at the moment. Carla might comment on the time frame for that, perhaps in their session later. But the local plan sets out what's required in terms of the development here, and I'll just quote from it if you don't mind, because I might not quite get it right. Oh, it's gone off. It's got in terms of the policy, it talks about access. It provides safe vehicular access from Courtney Road and produce and improve pedestrian and cycle access, including crossing facilities and Worthy Road as required, contribute to any other off-site transport improvements necessary. And then it's got 2 environmental policies that talk about provide on-site flexible, multifunctional, accessible, informal green space, and it's got a size there so as to help separate housing from the railway line on the western side of the site, create an attractive and accessible environment, and they undertake a noise assessment to ensure there's no disturbance. And then it talks about other other infrastructure, both physical and social. Those are separate to the Kings Barton development and allocation. And I think what we'll have to do as your offices is, if and when we get a planning application in for this, we'll have to test that against the new local plan W4 is one of those policies. It's a site allocation, but you must read the plan as a whole. And I just don't think we can merge the two, I'm afraid. I think that would be wrong of the planning process.
Yeah, and the way I've interpreted, sorry about that, interpreted your guidance, Julie, is that that particular piece of land is there's now a conversation starting. It's in the planning process, and it's important that all the comments and so on get channeled through that process, which, you know, we manage it according to legislation, so we do it right, if you like, and the Kings Barton Forum doesn't have a role in that. Explicitly, we have no decision-making powers, etc., etc. I guess that's not to say we're not interested, Chris. It's just to say, and there might be the occasional thing. I think it would be more around implementation. If eventually something is agreed on that site, there might be practical things at that point where, you know, let's say construction work destroys the pathway through, or destroys something, or does some damage to, like, the crossing on the Worthy Road. Those of us on the Kings Barton Forum who our responsibility is to monitor the delivery of the S106 and so on, we might have a role in we might want to pick it up in the forum, but that's probably the stage where we'd pick it up.
Yeah,
so I think we need to tread lightly on this. Not to say it's not interested at all, but I think Councillor Eve and Tippett Cooper and Becca are probably best placed to work with you on and the Abbot Barton community and also, of course, Councillor Todd in his role as a county councillor, which I think covers that particular area, are probably the best people to work with on how to work with the planning system. Is that a fair point? Is that a fair layman's way of describing it, Julie?
Yeah, that's entirely correct. I mean, as you say, there may well be areas that overlap when we're looking for connections and other things, but actually we're just not there yet. So it may be at the implementation post decision stage, and we're obviously nowhere near making any decision or assessment on an application that's not with us yet. What we will do is, when we do have a planning application, we'll advertise that and follow the statutory regulations to do that and invite those comments and take them into account before sort of reaching any planning decision, and that will follow the statutory framework.
Yeah, I think you used the right jargon words there, whereas I was making it up as I went. Before we just close on that, are any members wanting to ask any questions in relation to that? So any councillors here want to just seek a word of clarification on that? Are we all clear? I'm not seeing any hands go up, so I'm assuming that all the members here are reasonably comfortable with that position. And Chris, are you okay with that? It may not be what you wanted, but are you okay with that clarification?
No, I think that's absolutely clear and fine with me. I think some of the examples that have come up in discussion locally would include things like, you know, whether there is a route for sort of heavy vehicle traffic, you know, from the current Kings Barton site, you know, onto the Courtney Road site under the railway bridge, which is the way that agricultural vehicles access at the moment. That's the sort of thing I think that we had in mind, where we'd need to have a route to raise it, and this seemed like a good place to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, those are things that you could raise through the planning process. I'm sure people who live in Kings Barton might have an opinion on that too. And that's where the challenge of running a planning department, well, not the only challenge, but one of the challenges is reconciling conflicting demands from the public on these things and managing the process through. So hopefully that's okay. Right. I think so. Chris, you're welcome to stay with us, but I won't be offended if you decide you've got better things to do in a sunny evening and want to disappear from the meeting. And thanks for joining us. Okay, moving on to Mike Slynn. I've got some I've got you registered, but I'm a little bit unclear of what capacity you're here as, whether you are here as the current chair of KBRA or in your personal capacity. Are you still actually online? I can't see you at the minute. Has Mike's Lynn dropped off? Nancy? Help me, please.
I'm just looking myself. I haven't had any emails, but yes, he doesn't appear to be there at the moment.
Yeah, he was certainly here earlier on, but maybe something's come up and he's had to prioritise something else. Okay, well, I was going to open it up to Mike, who's here, and I would imagine he was going, well, I don't know, Jackie, surely, I know you didn't really want to speak today, but
hello.
I didn't get the feeling you were shy, but
no, I'm not shy at all. No, Mike did say he was going to join just for the first 30 minutes. He didn't have any more time. We had nothing specifically we wanted to cover at this particular forum. I did submit just a document just so everybody could go through things that were top of mind for us at the moment. But and hello everybody. I'm probably the new chair and hopefully not normally as hot as I am today, having to sit in a very warm flat.
Right.
So.
Okay, well, thanks for saying a few words. Now, there was as we have, it's the custom for KBRA to do, there was a report submitted. And on that report, we have, I'm assuming members have had a chance to read through it. My interpretation of it is that items 3 through to 7 are items which I think we can pick up later with either Carla's session or the county council session, or the county council session where Jackie Porter will go through some updates from the county council. So we'll cover those there. The update on the Kings Barton Park and Ride, which in your report you've asked for, basically the question is when will the park and ride site open? I'm confident that Carla will refer to that in their session because we've asked them to do so. So we'll cover that later. And the charging points, I think I've already raised it. It was brought up last time. So again, we'll ask Carla to clarify whether it is something for them to deal with or something for Warwick Estates, who are the management company, and try and sort of unpick it a little bit and work out what we do with that. And I'm glad to see that the Residents' Fete was a great success. I apologise I was not able to make it, but I was in Finland, so hopefully that's a good enough reason not to be there. And right, okay, and there was also, hoping for feedback from the county council in relation to the issues that were raised in a visit last week.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so moving on to item number 6, if I've got this right, it is an update from Headbourne-Worthy Parish Council, or I think more precisely the Kings Barton Committee, but it is a Headbourne-Worthy report. So Antonio, welcome.
Welcome, good evening. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nancy, for circulating the parish report. I hope everybody had the time to read it. Yep. For brevity, I will only mention 3 items out of the report. The first one is regarding the community governance review. KBC disagree with the latest community governance review recommendation from the Winchester City Council Authority, not including Barton Meadow within the boundary of the new proposed Kings Barton Parish. Barton Meadow Natural Reserve is part of Kings Barton development, has been created because of the Kings Barton development, and this creation has been evaluated by local planning officers as a compulsory condition for Kings Barton planning application approval. The Natural Reserve has been so far financed with CAVA commuted sum derived from Kings Barton Estate. Nevertheless, inconsistently with this, the latest community governance review recommendation, this area do not include this area in the limit in the boundary of Kings Barton new parish proposal. The second item I would like quickly to mention is regarding the community building and in general the S106 deeds of variation. KBC is disappointed that the new S106, that the S106 trigger at 800 occupation for community building transfer has been reset, delaying about 18 months the community building availability for residents. It is sad that Winchester City Council has taken this decision without notifying neither the parish or the residents association. In general, more in general, KBC would like to express this concern because the deeds of variation of the S106 documents agreed by Winchester City Council and Hampshire County Council in the past without any sanction are strongly penalizing Kings Barton residents by consistently delaying the implementation of some essential services like roads, park and ride, bus service, and now the community building. We believe that Kings Barton residents should be transparently informed and at least dignified with a formal apology from responsible authority and from the developer take this negative decision. Finally, last item I would like to talk about is regarding the Kings Barton bus service. The KB1 bus service is going well. KBC is pleased to see that the numbers are increasing, showing the service is well appreciated by residents. Even with limited bus size and timetable, an average of about 800 passengers per month has been measured. Few potential service improvements are currently under consideration, such as a free and reduced tickets in the summer period and the service extension on Saturday evening. Nevertheless, KBC is deeply concerned for the future of the bus service. At the moment, the service is financed exclusively with limited developer funds. The original approved Kings Barton planning application established that the long-term financial sustainability of the bus service should be guaranteed by the park and ride light service incomes. Unfortunately, according to recent authorities' declaration, Winchester City Council seems to have no plan to implement the park and ride light service, jeopardizing in this way the future of the service sustainability and reducing the current margin of improvement. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Antonio. Before I open it up to members for any questions they may have for you, I think regarding this community governance review, I recall you spoke at the stage 1 licensing and regulation committee, and I think you made clear the views of Kings Barton committee to both the licensing and reg committee, but also officers who were present. And in effect, that is the purpose in that meeting was to trigger the stage 2 process. So your input there was heard and is effectively part of the considerations going forward. And I know that Kings Barton Committee and also the Headbourne-Worthy Committee through the Headbourne-Worthy Parish, because you've got 2 committees through 1 parish, have both provided clear views. Sorry, that's the timer which I'd set for your speaking slot. Have both provided clear views which have been fed into the stage 2 consultation, and I know you and others have expressed their views, and I can assure you that the city councillors have also expressed those views and have made it clear to officers those opinions. I'm not, there's a process that they're going through, and the Kings, again, a bit like with planning, the Kings Barton Forum is not part of that process. I just wanted to acknowledge that we've heard you and that the officers have heard you, not just you, but the committee as a whole. And they are going through, as I said in my introduction, the third part of specialist consultants who are working with our officers to process all the inputs. And bear in mind that a large, there's a I think it's a 25,000 home part of it, which is Winchester, which they're also having to process. And they are, as I said, we're going to have a paper presented at the Licensing and Reg Committee on the 6th of August, and I cannot predict for sure what that's going to say. We have to hope that they've been listening and they've made the right decisions, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to open it up for members here. If there are any questions they want to ask about that, any of the points that you've raised, Councillor Di Stefano, anyone got any questions where you want to qualify anything? And I should also say, really, I'm actually pleased about the way the Kings Barton bus is going. I hear your concern about the park and ride. Later on in the meeting, I think we're going to hear from Carla what the actual date is for when that is likely to be built. And I think there's been some misunderstandings, because I heard people in the Kings Barton committee saying, and others saying that they thought it was coming, it could be available this September. So I think Carla will confirm the facts on that, and that will hopefully provide a bit of clarity as to why things are going. So anyone else got any questions for Councillor Di Stefano before? I see you got your hand up, Antonia. Any questions for Antonia or for me? Right, I'm not seeing any more hands up. So, Antonia, you've got a point you want to make?
Yes, I would like a clarification regarding the, if possible, of course, the difference between to build the car park, that is what Carla is declaring is doing, and the implementation of the park and ride that should be part of, according to the planning application, should be Winchester City Council task.
Yep.
Is then, as far as understood, correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, by 2027, Carla will be able to provide the infrastructure of the car park, but there is no plan still, and doesn't appear to be intention to have one for the implementation of the actual service of car park light that should produce the income so essential and on which the future of the bus service relies on.
So I'm not going to attempt to answer that right now, because later in the meeting, in the agenda, you will have seen that we have an item in the agenda where Carla will update us on a number of issues, including the car park delivery, i.e. the physical car park, and the date on that would be relevant to any conversation around the service elements of it. I will also draw your attention to, I think in the minutes of the last meeting, Councillor Lerney, who is the cabinet member at Winchester, responsible for a whole range of things, including parking and the park and ride buses, actually provided an answer as to what the high-level strategic intentions are. There's always work to be done in getting from an aspiration or high-level strategic intentions to actually delivering it, but let's wait until we've heard from Carla some clarity on their schedule as to when there'll be a physical car park, because there's certainly no point putting a service in place if the car park isn't actually there to be used. So if we can do it in that order, and just to be clear, it's not, we are aware of it. We are aware that a park and ride needs a service as well, but it also needs, it will also need things like the road to have been diverted and so on, and that will impact on the timing. So let's park the conversation until later on. Members, have I got any other questions in relation to Councillor Di Stefano's comments? I think we're okay at the moment then. So let's move on to what are we on to next? Right, I think we're on to the update from Ruth on behalf of City Council officers and planning. Is that right? Have I got it right? Yep, I am right. So, Ruth, would you like to join us and tell us about the occupation numbers and the status on the Carla planning application, and also in regard, just if we start there and the S106, and then we'll pick up some of the points that were raised earlier. Ruth, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of the occupation numbers on the site, at the previous forum, there were 753 homes registered for council tax, including 3 which were unoccupied. This month, the Council Tax Department have confirmed there are 786 properties registered, with 9 of those being unoccupied. So overall, there's an increase of 33 homes that are now registered for council tax on the site.
Right.
We have updated the Section 106 planning obligations table to reflect this, and this formed part of the report pack for the committee as normal. In summary, 2 Hampshire County Council obligations have either been triggered or are kind of ongoing as a result of the latest figures. The first one is the secondary education contribution at para 4.15 of the HEC agreement, and I've received confirmation from HEC that a payment of just over 5 million has been paid by Carla, so that has been done and ticked off and discharged. The second issue, which I know is one which we've talked about at a couple of forums, is the need for Carla to review the need for a second car club space on the site, which again is in with HCC in their agreement. And I think we had seen a copy of some additional information that had gone to HCC fairly recently. And I have just literally this afternoon seen an email from HCC confirming that they're satisfied that a second car isn't required, and therefore that obligation is discharged.
Right.
So those are the 2 key changes in terms of triggers as a result of the change in occupation numbers on the site. Do you want me to pause there?
What, before we talk about the...
Before we go into applications?
Yeah, I think that might be a good point to pause and just see if there's any questions in relation to the S106, if members have any questions. I've got Councillor Porter, Jackie, and Councillor Batho. So Jackie, you're first.
Thank you. I just must express my sadness at not having the second car. I think that's a real shame. I accept that there's data that has to be accepted, that has to justify, and that the justification isn't there, but I've just registered that. The second point is on the education amount. Does it all go to Henry Beaufort, or does it just go to Hampshire County Council to define where it goes as a result of that?
I don't actually know. I presume it goes to HCC and then they use it, unless there's a specific reference to Henry Beaufort in their 106. So I'd need to check that point. I'll come back to you on that.
It's whether it goes to Hampshire County Council for secondary education generally. Because we have a lot of special needs concerns as well, and it's an opportunity to. Well, I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, I can check. Sorry, I'm going directly back to you. Apologies, Steve. Just to say, I can check the 106 their 106 and come back to you on that. It's probably easiest, Jackie. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Ruth, do you feel like you have the communication channel to do that? Is that a standard thing for you as a planning officer working for the City Council to be able to get an answer from the County Council, or do you want to do it with assistance from a County Councillor?
I can tell you what's in the HCC 106 as to whether it specifically refers to that school. Often it doesn't, it's just a general contribution. As to how it's then used, that probably is something maybe for Councillor Porter to take up, or one of the other HCC councillors. Yeah. But certainly I can look at their agreement and circulate the relevant section. If that's helpful.
I don't recall it referencing Henry Beaufort, but then I might be out of date in my, among all the other things. So I would get, it'd be useful to know, but I suspect it might need a county councillor to go and ask the county council officers, okay, what are you going to do with all this, all this money in a productive sense? Okay, it's my gut feeling. Councillor Batho.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just echo Jackie's comments in terms of the car share. It just seems that the opportunity for providing that should actually be sort of continued in terms of Carla's responsibilities. It seems that the ability to then sort of point to the fact that they haven't got the uptake on the first one, that they can then withdraw the second, just sort of seems to be a bit short-sighted and sort of means that we then don't have that facility in the northern part where people actually haven't had the chance to have a car share in the first place because the southern one is too far away. So I just question a bit like sort of the previous question about sort of the opportunity for these monies to be sort of effectively passed back to the developer. If they're not providing that, are there recourse that we can use to allow it to be provided for some other form of active travel, such that at least the development gets the sort of financial support that was anticipated by the by use of the second car?
Okay. I'm just wondering here, Alison or Rupert, is this something you want to chime in on? I have an alternative strategy for Councillor Porter and Councillor Batho to pursue. Is this something you want to pursue on and just sort of put Carla's position on?
In terms of Carla's position, we have got a car club vehicle on site, but we do recognise it's probably not in the best location. Our intention is actually to move it into the community building area, so it's more central. We're hoping that actually will assist the usage. We've actually been actively marketing it as well. Our travel plan coordinator has been doing leaflets and updates on our webpage and sort of trying to market it and make it very clear and publicise that it's available to Kings Barton residents, but also wider. It's open to the public to use that facility. I believe it was actually moved down to the fair as well, just so it was actually publicised a bit more so people would have shown how to use the app so they could actually book it. So we are committed. We have provided that car. We are subsidising it more. We had hoped it'd be self-funding after a few years. We've committed to another 3 years. I think in total it's over 6 years. I've just seen there was sorry, Jackie said it wasn't moved. Apologies. We had actually asked Pro Wheels to move the car down. So apologies if that didn't happen on the day at the fair. So apologies if that didn't occur. As I said, we have been funding it. There isn't a demand for a second vehicle. It just isn't there. The 106 does provide for us to provide that evidence, which Hampshire County Council is satisfied that there isn't a demand for a second one. But I think if we move the first vehicle in a more central location, hopefully that will assist with the usage of that vehicle.
Yep. And are you aware if there's scope to reopen that conversation in future? If demand for the single one increases, is there scope to reopen that, or does that come down to Co-Wheels to decide, well, actually it's doing really well with one, they could decide that they want to, it's just for business reasons, have two?
In terms of the 106, there isn't an avenue for it to be reopened. It's satisfied. It was consideration for the need for a second vehicle, so it was very clear that if there was a demand for a second vehicle at the 750 trigger, that would be presented at that time. And then, as I said, but if it is for a commercial decision, I can't speak on behalf of Co-Wheels, but I would assume if there was demand, they would consider it. But I can't speak on behalf of them or another enterprise or another operator.
Right, yeah, but so from your point of view, from Carla's point of view, the discussion has happened with the county council, and the outcome of that is, and I might be using the wrong type of S106 language here, but the obligation to provide the second car is now it's been discharged, and Carla no longer needs to do that. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It was the 106 I've just in front. It says to demonstrate that if there's demand for more than one vehicle.
Yep. Okay.
And that's the evidence that we provided, that there isn't a demand for more than one.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I don't know if Councillor Todd wanted to come in there, but assuming you didn't because your hand's gone down, I will just, Councillor Todd, thank you. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it's just a question really, which is how successful are they as a provider? I mean, are they the right provider? Because they have a relatively small network compared to, well, I mean, the Enterprise is the big one, isn't it? But which also has a strong presence in the city. So I just wondered if that was a factor in the uptake. Have you looked at that?
Now, when we appointed them, we actually went out to the market, and they did have good coverage. We have had a couple of meetings with Co-Wheels to see if they can be a bit more proactive. If you do actually put in car clubs in Winchester, I think they do come up at the top. I've done that a couple of times, so it is a valid point. Enterprise have got a wider national presence than Co-Wheels, but we are doing as much as we can in terms of marketing, and they are being more proactive as well.
Thank you.
Okay. I think the other avenue I was going to suggest here is, it sounds like there's concerns that both Councillor Porter and Councillor Batho have sort of raised, and maybe it's something to seek clarification from the relevant county council officers for how they assess these things and satisfy yourself that the assessment is right. So in order that, if you're willing to take it, I'm willing to suggest maybe Councillor Batho leads on that, because I know that Councillor Porter has a list as long as 2 arms of other things she tracks on Kings Barton in relation to Kings Barton. So Councillor Batho, would you be happy to explore it from the county council point of view and share that with Councillor Porter, Councillor Todd and myself?
I'm happy to pick it up. Just in terms of formality, I am only on this meeting as a city councillor. If the other 2 who are on as a formal Hampshire County councillor are happy with that, I can do that.
Well,
I'd suggest, obviously, we can make Councillor Porter aware in her role as a county councillor. And the county councillor responsible for the area where the car club is being provided.
I'm happy to.
I think it needs to be one of the local county councils.
I understand. Probably the point has passed, but I understand, and we did express this concern to the officers only last week.
Okay, all right.
I will follow it through though.
I'm trying my best, Jackie, to take some workload off you and pass it on to somebody else, but I know you have all the contacts, so if you're happy to deal with that sort of thing, that's fine. Right, okay. So Ruth, would you like to launch into talking around this current status on any planning apps, or the major planning apps, in relation to the forum that you want to talk us through today?
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of an update on the current or just determined applications relating to the site, we granted planning permission on the 10th of June for the phase 3B reserve matters, which is on the western side and the centre of the site, which includes 126 units. So that was granted. We also recently had a planning application for a new landowner access for agricultural purposes off the northern side of Wellhouse Lane. roughly in line with phase 1B of the scheme, so just to the north of there. That was critical to allow the TRO for the Harestock Junction works to progress, and we've just recently granted planning permission for that on the 25th of June. And finally, the community phase application, which includes the community building and also 40 houses and nursery. The deed of variation linking this to the main scheme has been granted. I've drafted my officer's report for review by senior officers. As a result of that, it was identified that some additional consultation needed to take place with Natural England regarding nutrient neutrality. We have already had a response back from Natural England, which is raised just a couple of queries in terms of calculations, quite detailed queries, and we're working with Carla to respond on that just ASAP. So a decision really is imminent. We're working as hard as we can to get this issued. I understand there's obviously a lot of frustration locally to get the planning permission out because this includes the community building. So yeah, a decision is very imminent, I would say, and we'll just work as hard as we can to get that issued. I think that's it at the moment in terms of applications.
So if I can just ask a question or two to just unpick that and hopefully provide some clarity to the members here. So one of the things that came out from the TRO thing was the impact on a landowner, and consequently there's been a whole load of work done involving Carla and the planning process to sort that out, and that's, I believe that's just one of those things that can come up that means that TRO processes take longer than you expected, and there's probably plenty of other things that can get in the way of that. So so that was useful to understand that as part of why it's not just a tick box exercise. I think the other thing is just like if you could just remind us all what is in the community phase, because certainly the conversations that are happening at the King's Barton committee meeting, it's about all the conversation is around the community building, and like the community building hasn't had approval, but as I understand it, there's quite a bit more than that, but also there's some fundamental differences about this chunk, for want of a better word. I think you used the word a drop-in planning app. So could you just explain what a drop-in planning app is and why it takes a lot longer than typically takes a lot longer than a reserve matters thing, which is what most people are familiar with?
Sure, no problem. So first of all, in terms of what this application includes, it includes the community centre, obviously. It also includes a children's nursery just to the west of the community centre. So the community centre is on the new Winchester Avenue, and then the nursery is slightly set back to the west. Then to the south of that, there are various access roads, and there are 40 houses and apartments proposed as well. So it is a mixture of uses, and obviously you have the landscaping and the setting and car parking and things relating to that. Yeah, this application is different in nature from all of the previous applications on the site, because we obviously have an outline planning permission at the top of the planning tree, if you like, and then below that the details of each of the phases have been submitted as reserve matters. So it is very much the principle is already agreed, and you're submitting details in terms of the design of the buildings, you know, exactly how they're orientated, etc. This application includes plots where a reserve matters was already granted for the scheme. So therefore another reserve matters can't be submitted under the original outline planning permission. But as a result of various consultation and changes over time, Carla needs to make changes to this area of the scheme, which includes relocating some of the uses around the site. So therefore they can't submit a reserve matters under the original outline planning permission because that's already been determined. So therefore they have submitted a full planning application, which effectively drops in and is an alternative. It's not an alternative, it will basically supersede any previous missions for that area of the site. But having said all of that, it is linked back and is consistent with the outline planning permission as a whole, which is why we have a deed of variation to the WCC legal agreement in place to make sure that all of the affordable housing requirements and other requirements that are required as part of the scheme as a whole will be achieved for this area of the site still. So effectively it knits in to the wider scheme. But unfortunately, because it is a full planning application, Carla have had to provide more information than would normally be the case for a reserve matters application. I'm sorry, that's quite long-winded. Hopefully that made sense.
It made sense, and I, I would have to confess I've heard some of this before, but I think it's also that it's not just that Carla had to provide more information, but there are more different stakeholders that the City Council Planning Department have to refer to, and as you go through the process, opinions start to say, well, actually, there's another couple of bodies that you have to refer to as well. So it takes a lot longer and is more challenging to do so. So wanted just to, I thought when I heard you explain that to us a few weeks ago, I thought, okay, I think I understand now why it's not the same as previous things. I see we've got a question in here from Councillor Di Stefano. Antonio.
Hello, Ruth. Hi. Just I was reading in the report pack the information you provided in the S106 tracker. I've noticed that specifically the deeds of variation have been applied for the starting of the work for the community building and for the transfer. Please, can you confirm the changes that have been made and what was before and what is now, how it has been changed? Thank you very much.
I'm not sure I can remember all of the details of what was before, but I can definitely tell you what is now agreed. So in terms of the community building, the new deed of variation states that it needs to be commenced prior to the occupation of 800 units on the site. It is then constructed in accordance with a programme of construction, which I think is attached to the deed, which Carla have provided, and they can provide more details, I'm sure, but it's roughly a year construction process. And then after that will be handed over under the provisions set out in the 106 for snagging and things like that. There is also a backstop provision in the deed of variation which ensures that no more than 950 units on the site can be occupied before the community centre is then handed over. So that is the new, and I think previously it used to be that the community centre had to be handed over by 800 units. I'm looking at Steve. I think he is probably as up to speed with me on what was previously said. I think that was the case, and now it's a case of the construction has to be started by that trigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then you confirm that there is the deeds of variation have changed from 800 to 950, the trigger for the transfer of the community building to the local authority. It is approximately, in my rough approximate counts, is equivalent to about 18 months of delay. Okay, thank you very much.
So, Antonio, there was a point made in the Headbourne-Worthy report about the change in triggers, an expression of disappointment, and implying that the City Council planning have just allowed this to happen. Ruth, do you still want to raise that point, Antonio, and have if Ruth can give a quick explanation, or maybe you might need to refer to Julie as to sort of why this is not unreasonable to do. And I appreciate from your point of view, Councillor Di Stefano, and people who live in Kings Barton, it is a disappointment. But anyway, I'll throw the question over to Ruth, and if you need to call on Julie, give a shout.
So yes, I could just add in terms of sort of reasoning why this has happened. I'm sure Carla can add to this as well. Councillor Cremyson, if that's okay. But as I understand it, part of it is to do with the reason that there have been changes to this area of the scheme, and we've ended up with this full planning application for this area. So therefore, there's been significant delay because of that. You know, we as planners, we do try and enforce obligations as much as possible, but also we need to take on board changes that happen to schemes over time. And obviously, this scheme is being a big scheme is being built out over a long period of time, and unfortunately, changes like this do tend to occur. So we need to balance that against the need, obviously, for these sorts of facilities to be delivered.
Yeah, and where I was going to with that, Ruth, is, and bearing in mind that some of us have had experience of the county council and agreeing with Carla on a change of trigger points for Winchester Avenue and so on. From the point of view of the public, it just looks like, well, why don't the authorities just say demand it? You know, I'm trying to put it in layman's language so that it's I'm not trying to make it difficult, but sometimes, you know, I just want to see what a planner's opinion is, so we can try and convey that to people on the Kings Barton committee who are perhaps a little bit sceptical about whether the right things have been done to make sure it could come in on time.
I mean, there's lots of factors we have to take into account in terms of where we are with the scheme, how it's changed over time, as I said. We also do need to take into account the need for new homes and the delivery of that as well. And you know, Carla have come up with a detailed construction plan, which shows they are very much committed to delivering this as soon as possible. And I know they're very much lined up to get started as soon as the permission is granted. So I think taking all those factors on board, we felt as planners that the changes that were proposed were reasonable. And that was the view we came to. Yeah.
Okay. Antonio, you look like you want to just have a final word on this. Is that right?
Just if I may be not, I may be wrong, but can you, Ruth, confirm that in the original S106 document, there was an obligation from CAVA to provide alternative location if the community building was not ready by 800 occupation trigger?
Yes, there is a kind of temporary provision in there. I'd need to remind myself of the exact wording, but you are correct. There is a provision in there for that.
Okay.
Do I assume correctly that it will be then CAVA is ready to accept this and providing the alternative location?
I'd need to check back the wording, exactly how it's worded, Councillor Di Stefano, if that's okay, because I also need to see if it has been affected by the recent deed of variation. I can't recall off the top of my head if it is or not.
Thank you very much.
If that's okay, I can review that.
So, thank you, Ruth. I think in terms of process, it would probably be helpful for Antonio to know that and to be able to convey that to other members of the Kings Barton committee, and I'm sure if you could keep me informed on that as well. I'm very aware we've been talking a little bit about Carla there. Rupert and Alison, are you happy just to, do you want to comment at this stage, as we've been talking about you, right, about your company, not about you, before we leave that point?
No, I don't think much to add. I think Ruth's answered the question and explained the situation very well. Just to reiterate, Carla's, we're keen to get the community building started as quickly as possible, as Winchester City Council officers are, and councillors and the public. And as soon as that permission lands, we will be mobilising as quickly as possible. As Ruth said, we have done a very detailed 12-month build programme just to give our officers sort of clear steer on our build programme, so it was very, very clearly set out, and then we'll be handing it over as soon as possible. The 950 was just the drop dead position of when the building will be handed over, but we'll do everything in our powers to bring that forward. But the 12-month build programme is realistic because it has been set by a construction team.
Yeah, and perhaps if we can distinguish what the situation we have now is, or the public can, believe they have is, Carla have a realistic build program for this now, whereas it's not to say that previously it was unrealistic. It's just it was set a good number of years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, when the S106s were drawn up, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge, so to speak, since then. And now things are actually happening on the ground. This is what's realistic. Is that a reasonable way to describe it?
Absolutely, and also just like to reiterate as well, we have worked very proactively with the parish council in terms of taking on board as many of the comments and changes that they wanted as the end user. So I'm hoping the parish council would agree that we've changed meeting rooms, we've changed the hall dimensions, kitchen, added things in as much as we can. So we're hoping it's actually an end community facility that the parish and the public and the residents will be really proud of. Yeah,
and that it's better than it would have been if you just ploughed on and built what was in the outline. Okay, good. Right. Ruth, have I missed anything in terms of what you were going to cover?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. That was really good. And I appreciate you giving us a very brief description of drop-in planning applications and all that sort of stuff. Right. Item number 8 on the agenda. Jackie, do you think this is the right place to bring up the items that relate to county council questions that were raised by members either at or since the last meeting, including the TRO process, or do you want to wait until after Carla
I think it would be best to wait for Carla to give their presentation.
Yeah, we had that dilemma last time.
Otherwise, they feel like they're being talked about, but they're not actually doing it themselves. That'd be helpful.
Absolutely, but do make sure I don't rush into any other business.
I'm not shirking. I'm just making sure that they get their say.
That's fine. So, Alison, Rupert, I'm sorry it's taken us over an hour to get this into this part of the meeting, but do you want to start on your section and with an update on, if you just want to cover the whole thing first. Where are we?
If it's acceptable, we're proposing to do a presentation as we did similarly. I think that worked very well. It's incorporated all the questions, and if we have missed anything, we'll just circle back and respond to those points. Both Rupert and I've made notes of all the questions.
Sorry, we've just got it's sharing a different screen. It's not supposed to be sharing that screen. I'm trying to get it onto the right screen. It's slightly different.
It's always a bit of a worry when you screen share, isn't it?
Slight difference. Can you see? Yes, I think you can
see. King's Barton.
Should be the front screen that you're used to seeing. Can everybody see that? Okay, so it's a similar presentation to last time. We've updated it with our progress. So we're going to take you through our construction progress, the community centre, public amenities, the park and ride, sports pavilion, pitches and Muga, neighbourhood centre, Barton's Meadows, which is an addition, Winchester Avenue bus stops and crossings. We've got a slide on the electrical vehicle charging that I think has been mentioned a couple of times already today.
Thank you.
And then we just touch on future development phases.
Yep. Okay.
So the first slide, backed by popular demand, is a drone footage. We're coming now from the north, so the northern junction. So we can see progress on site. You can see the playing fields and the pavilion just down to the right of the shot as we move south. And then we come into the phases. You can see phase 2, what we call phase 2B, in construction now. And we're coming up to, just appearing in shot is the neighbourhood centre area of the site. So you can see our sales centre that you'll all be familiar with. And then the site that we are in, the community centre site, just to the south of that as we travel over. You see what we call 3A2 in construction on the left hand side.
Okay.
So hopefully this is useful to just give a bit of context to the scheme and the progress that has been made as we come down to the southern junction. And the traffic lights and the signals. There's been quite a bit of work going on the traffic lights and signals down there.
Okay.
And we hit the existing junction we join the Andover Road.
Yep.
And when we share the slides, you will have a copy of that. So
okay, great.
Happy to share those slides as has been requested.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any change to the master plan slides in terms of the dates. We're working our way through to starting the Northern Junction in January of next year, and then we will connect into the Winchester Avenue, all the works and I think the next slide or one of the slides we've got is the progress that's been shown, but there's a lot of work going on in the Winchester Avenue at the moment, which is getting it ready so that we can start to use the Winchester Avenue when the Northern Junction works is ready and open.
So that Northern Junction offsite works, before we move, that January 27, September 27. When you say off-site works, does that mean at the end of September the junction will be done and in theory you can divert traffic, or is that just a stepping stone before that happens?
No, that's correct. Once that junction is in and we've got all the RSAs done, then we'll be able to start utilising it. And it will be, and we'll start to divert traffic down the Winchester Avenue.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I don't think there's any change to this slide. We can see a bit more detail with regard to the programme. We touched on the traffic signals, the MOVA signals. Those works were at the Southern Junction were completed in June, so they were fully commissioned and operational. We've got the Winchester Avenue, the Northern Junction on-site works, which are now complete. There's been a conversation with regard to the signage. The signage will be going in on site over the third quarter so between now and September, so you'll start to see signage appear ready for the RSAs on the site. Phase 1A the remedials have been undertaken, as have 2A and the resurfacing done, and we're working our way through the resurfacing on 1B and 2B, which are on programme at the moment. So effectively, we're working our way through the site, getting that ready so that we can undertake the road safety audits in August, and getting us ready to be able to start the off-site Northern Junction works in January.
Yep.
And then we'll follow on with the off-site, the Southern Junction works in November 27 through to June 28, and then we will move over to the Andover Road in August 28 to Jan 29.
Okay. Okay, great.
Next slide is the community centre. We've talked about the community centre a little bit this evening already. So the decision is awaited on the Planning Commission, as we know, as anticipated shortly. And then we'd like to beat this, but within 4 weeks of the decision, we'll be on site, starting construction, and then we've got a 12-month build programme to have that completed and handed over to the parish.
Okay, great.
Public amenities wise, so with regard to the play parks, 1B has been handed over. Phase 1A play area was, I think, we had a completion certificate earlier on this year, March sort of time. Legal completion is due next month. 2A Muga pre-handover inspections were undertaken last month, and by the middle of July we're looking to receive a completion certificate. We expect that then the legal process of actually handing over the land will then start and take its course.
Okay.
Park and ride, I think I know there have been several questions around the park and ride. So we envisage that the park and ride construction will be completed in Q1 of next year. The transfer to Winchester City and its opening is proposed in late 2027 to align with the Northern Junction being open. But this is subject to Hampshire appointing an operator to be able to deliver that service. So I think with regard to the conversations that we've already been having, we're in the hands of Hampshire and Winchester. We just need to work with them towards those target dates.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what I'm seeing here is the park and ride construction works could be completed by let's say Easter next year.
Yeah.
Transfer to the City Council and opening late 2027. That's presumably to be negotiated with the City Council. And it's subject to the Northern Junction being open, which is itself dependent on the County Council. I'm unclear if it's really the Hampshire County Council appointing an operator. I mean, are your agreements in this regard with the County Council, or is it really I would have thought it's with the City Council in terms of the operator, except that I think the answer that Councillor Lerney gave on a previous meeting was that this park and ride in itself will not have a dedicated park and ride service like the City Council contracts for other park and ride places. It will pick up on the public services like the 75 and so on, and it could be incorporated into a park and ride scheme that involves the Sir John Moore Barracks place, where a larger park and ride is envisaged. So in which case, is it City? I don't know if it is the County Council or if it is the City Council that would be the commissioning organisation. What's your view on that?
I think I'm right in saying that we hand over the land to Winchester City, but I'm the operator. Yeah. I think it was the operator of the bus services. Is that the Hampshire County Council? Well, or will it be Winchester City Council?
County Council.
Winchester. Sorry,
Winchester City Council are the commission the stagecoach to deliver park and ride buses, but now Hampshire County Council have the lead role in working with the operators for public services. So this is a little bit ambiguous, this one. So as I said, I think Councillor Lerney has made it clear that the plans at the City Council are that any bus pickups from this particular car park will be the public services from the likes of Stagecoach or park and ride buses that are really primarily servicing the Sir John Moore Barracks site, which is going to be, it's a much bigger park and rides site. So that's how I understand it. Anyway,
I mean, we'll obviously we'll have to work with all the, anybody that we need, any of the bodies that we need to hand it over, and we will.
The handover will be to the city council.
So the handover of the land
park,
will be to the city, and they will be responsible for putting in place an operator. So that's envisaged for late 2027, and that aligns with the Northern Junction being open, which is our understanding is that there is no opportunity. They don't have necessarily the thoroughfare through the site to justify the opening of the park and ride. They need that volume of traffic, but we're happy to consider other options and discuss those.
Okay, all right.
The sports pavilion and pitches. So construction works progressing well. We saw in the video that the pitches are now complete. They're on a 12-month maintenance, which is why they're still not accessible. So we have to allow a full growing season before they're ready for use. Sports pavilions and trim trail are due for handover in Q1 of 2027. So that's being brought forward slightly. And the sports pitches will be anticipated for completion in summer 2027, which is the original handover date for all those facilities. So we're going to work with the parish to hand the pavilion and trim trail over a little bit earlier.
Yep, great. Can you go back to that one? And I just want to, I'm going to put out a sort of request of members here. If you've got questions as we go, it's probably best that we tackle them as we go, but I've got a question for you in relation to the pavilion. The question of polling stations is very much in a number of people's minds, and there's been discussions with the Kings Barton committee about potentially using the sports pavilion as a location as a polling station next May, but there are other conversations which have involved, which have referred to the school potentially doing it. So, and I'm picking up on something that was in the headline where the Kings Barton committee report. I feel like this is one where we need. I'm going to take the action on it to ask through Democratic Services to make some inquiries to the school and also yourselves, Carla, as to for them to qualify which of those locations is going to be suitable and available as a polling station. And will meet their credentials as to what they need to see. So I thought I should just tackle that point that I think came through on the report, and also just put it out in the open that I'll take that action to ask our governance team to come back to you on that, and also go back to the school, and then hopefully one of these two options will become possible for the local community.
That has actually been raised to us as well directly in terms of being available for the polling, and that's one of the reasons we would like to try and we'll hand it over in Q1 so it is available if it's a suitable venue.
But I think that's come to you via the parish council conversations, hasn't it? And I think to actually make this happen, it really comes down to the Winchester City Council governance team they have to make the move and be persuaded that one of these two locations is actually going to meet their requirements. So I think if we can lead it, I think from here, or at least I can try to, and we'll see where we go. Okay.
So moving on then, if that's okay.
Sure.
To the neighbourhood centre. So the neighbourhood centre, as we've already mentioned, has several components. So the nursery first, discussions. Well, it's the same with the supermarket. Discussions are ongoing with potential vendors at this stage, and the pub note hasn't changed. There's little interest at the moment in the pub site, but we're very hopeful that will change again once the Winchester Avenue is open and we have that through traffic and potential custom coming through the site and past the pub site, then the interest will grow from pub operators.
Yep.
Barton Meadows. So this is the and I'll get it wrong, but the abbreviation there is the transfer to the Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust. I can't remember what the H stands for. The Hampshire Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust. So that's progressing and is currently going through the legal process to hand over Barton Meadows to them. They're currently in place, maintaining it on our behalf. So they're very aware of the site and its surroundings and the maintenance involved.
Right. Great.
Bus stops. KB1 is currently operating on Winchester Avenue. It's using the flag post positions, the agreed flag post, or the agreed positions where the bus shelters will be situated, but the flag posts are currently in. Shelters though won't be installed until late 2027, which is in line with, again, the Northern Junction being open and the main bus service running through the Winchester Avenue. I think that is that 75. I might have that wrong, but I think that might be the 75. I'm not great on my bus numbers, but that's the plan. But they are currently, I think there was a question raised as to the route and the stops being available. They are in and they are there available for people to use.
Okay.
KB1. And then the next slide is the electrical vehicle charging. So a bit of a progress update and just trying to interpret the question. I think there are two parts to this. Happy to take comments though. There's the situation you have with when you are a homeowner, a house, and you have a separate independent electricity supply, which results in your own vehicle charging point. And that is quite a simple solution because you can approach your supplier, be it Octopus or British Gas in the instance when the incumbent, if you will, when you buy one of our properties, and you can ask to be put on a dual tariff or an economy 7 tariff, which allows you to benefit from cheaper off-peak rates. The situation is slightly different when you have a communal supply, and a communal supply can occur when you're in a block of flats or even some of the housing where you share a parking courtyard and there are communal electrical meters. The example there shows a communal, the bottom right hand image there shows a communal parking space where you've got 2 parking spaces that can share the same electrical EVC charging point, and in that instance we have a 3-phase electrical supply, and it's a commercial supply. We are in discussions with British Gas, who supply our electricity on our schemes, to understand what mechanism we can use to get the same benefits as an economy 7 tariff. Now, that once we've established that route, if in the case of a flat block where we've handed over to the management company, so Winchester, sorry, not Winchester, Warwick properties, in that situation, then the user would approach Warwick to request that facility. But at the moment, this action sits with Carla because we don't know that mechanism yet, and we're trying to establish that mechanism with British Gas. So I think that is the area that's been raised. I think it's on communal supplies and an understanding of how people can benefit from these off-peak dual tariffs. So we are looking into it, and as soon as we have a solution, we will set it out and share it with the relevant parties.
So this Rupert, has come through to this forum through the Kings Barton Residents Association. It's not come through any of the councillors here. Well, certainly not the city councillors. So unless Jackie is Jackie Shawley, who's the potentially future chair of the KBRA, or Antonio, Councillor Di Stefano, has any visibility of this. I don't think we know quite where the mix is in terms of whether it is, private homes or whether it is the communal. We think it's the communal. Jackie, are you able to just share a view on that?
Yeah, basically it's in relation to the communal properties. So it's a lot of the flats or apartments that are owned.
Yeah,
we have EV points, but it's been raised by, in fact, it's been raised by one of the Hebborn-worthy councillors who brought it up specifically, and then it's been across the Residents Association because we don't have that facility, and the rate is astronomical at the moment and prohibitive to. I mean, I'm looking to switch to an EV, and I'm not going to do it with the cost as it is at the moment.
Right.
I'm also very conscious, I mean, this is slightly off topic, but we have received questions to the Residents Association because there is no EV provision or supply provision in any of the shared ownership or social housing blocks of apartments. And also I never know the phase numbers, the one that's at the bottom of Winchester Avenue where it joins Andover Road, by the southern end. A lot of the properties that were built in the original phase there don't have EV points at all, including the block where there is one point in the car park for the girls that work in the office, but including that original block that's at the bottom, which has been sold. So there's lots of questions around these EV points. We brought it up, Steve, when we were walking around, if you remember, about the fact some people are hanging cables out their windows, which is a little dangerous. So the sooner we get an answer on this, the more we'll be able to talk to the residents and see what we can do. I don't know if Antonio's got anything he wants to add.
Antonio, do you want to just share your view on it? You're muted at the moment by the looks of it.
Sorry, I'm speaking. Sorry. Can you?
Just about hear you. You're cutting in and out.
Yeah. I would like just to outline that 1A phase and 1B phase didn't have any electrical charger. Then over the 786 houses that Ruth previously mentioned, we are about 400 that didn't have any charger on the origin. Amongst the other 300, there are as you know, there are the social house that do not have a charger. Then, I mean, there is a very large amount of residents that actually cannot really use electrical charger. This is the reason why we start seeing often, and with a concerning frequency, cable running out from the window on the pavement, with some trip hazard that I don't want even to mention, to connect car from houses to from the houses. That is there. I mean, this concern was raised a bit of time ago, and I mean, I believe 1 year ago, and I think Cala suggested that some public electrical chargers could be provided at the limit of on the borders of the phase 1A and 1B in order to allow residents that do not have proper charger, I mean in the house, that can use the public one. But this never happened, and even the chargers that are currently in the selling area, in the two selling Cava, are not available for residents. Then this is, I think, is a long-term problem that somehow should be considered.
Right. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Rupert, do you want to jump in there,
yeah,
or shall we?
Yeah,
or do you want to hit?
just...
Jackie Porter has got a hand.
Apologies.
Do
Yeah.
you want to hit? It's not. I don't want to hear you. I think let's just hear what Jackie has to say, and then we'll give you the opportunity to respond. Jackie.
Well, I think it might be more relevant for Rupert to go first. And
I'll fine.
Wrap up.
Rupert.
Thank you, Jackie. I was quickly just reminding myself and doing a bit of research there, because I think some of this comes from the from legislation, from building regulations. So in 2022, it became mandatory for us to install the EVC, the electrical vehicle charging points to all properties. So we're seeing that crossover on this scheme, which is why some of the earlier phases do not have the same numbers of EVCs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that answers all of the questions that were raised by Councillor Antonio De Stefano, but that's where it sits. I think the earlier phases would be retrospective up to the individual homeowners to have EVCs installed themselves.
Yeah. Okay. I think what we're sorry, you want to come in now, Jackie?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sorry.
Okay. So Jackie will be aware that we had the meeting last week because she was there. We met with a couple of people from Hampshire County Council, and they have responded back to me to say that the issues raised at the visit, they're working through them, and we'll come back with details of what we can and can't be done at our end, and suggestions for other things that were raised. And this point was raised very specifically, and we will pursue this. One of the challenges is that the car parking courts for the joint properties, the flats, are not in the ownership of the housing associations who own the flats. So they don't have the power to put it, not the ability, not the power, the ability to put charging points into those courts. I presume there could be a way leave or something that would allow that to happen. And why that's relevant is because the County Council has just won a contract or won a grant for 17,000 new public EV chargers, which gives the residents the confidence to buy an electric car to live wherever they live. And it said we're making it easier and cheaper to go public, and they're aiming to basically put these in, and you can register for a location for consideration in the scheme. And it's hants.gov.uk/transport/electric-vehicles. And if you can put that into the minutes, but it's hants.gov.uk/transport/electric-vehicles. And people are able to make their own request in that. Now, the challenge will be whether you can put them into the public arena if it's not publicly owned land, but that's something we will address with the officers that came out last week.
Right. So, Rupert, does that change anything you've said?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that the parking courts that are specifically for the shared ownership and the rented units and flat blocks are not actually handed over to the housing associations.
That's what the housing associations have told us, but
that normal practice is to give them the car parking courtyards. But I will check that. But either way, those private area, what are effectively private areas, be it management company, they're management company areas, but they're either the Warwick Group,
Housing Association or Warwick,
or the Housing Association, but they are management company areas. With their permission, you will get an easement and connect up an EVC charging point. So there are ways to unravel this, and hopefully that those mechanisms will allow us to for anybody who's interested to make use of the grant that's available. but we're happy to help with that situation. But I can't believe I just think it's probably a bit of an understanding of who to approach for it again.
Absolutely, which is why it's really good, because the officers realise the gravity of that situation, and this is a grant that's only recently been advertised in July. So it's a good opportunity for people to put their interest in it, but also we've raised it with the officers.
Definitely.
So, sorry, Rupert, you were...
Well, I was just going to go back to Jackie Shawley's point of the costs involved. We are very aware, and it's been because the communal supplies that go in are these commercial meters. We are very aware it's been an industry issue for a while. So it's not just Carla, it's every house builder this is affecting every house builder and every communal supply, that the tariffs involved with commercial meters are higher, a lot higher than the residential. And we're trying to unlock that position, but it's not just affecting Kings Barton residents, it's affecting a much wider industry. All the new builds that are going in are having the same challenge.
So we appreciate your answer you're giving us that on Rupert, and then hopefully you'll get that resolved and we'll have some very happy residents.
Yeah, we're doing our best and we'll keep you updated.
So one of the things I'm struggling with this is I can see it's a common problem for a number of people, but the issue is coming at me through the Kings Barton Residents Association. So I have no idea, and none of us as councillors have any idea which addresses we're talking about. Now, it's helpful that Jackie, surely you're able to confirm that it is the communal ones, but I think it would be helpful to understand the different categories of if you like, concern that are being raised, and the numbers involved, so and potentially even addresses, because then you can actually try and work out where are the common problems and where are the different problems. As Rupert explained, legislation has changed so that Carla didn't used to put EV chargers into houses. Now they do, and that's probably reflected in the prices of those houses. The ones that were built earlier didn't have that in, and I don't have in fact I do have an EV charger now, but it certainly wasn't in there when the house was built in 1922, and I've had to pay to put it in. So I think we need to better understand the specifics here, so we're not talking around the subject too much, and then we can kind of work through it with Carla to try and say, okay, we've got three or four possible different categories. Here's the response on category 1, category 2, and maybe a different response on 3 or 4, etc. Because it might be that the answer is different for those different categories. So it would be helpful if we can figure out, Jackie, surely, how a way to pull that information together that is legal, bearing in mind GDPR and all the other things that can get in our way.
Can I suggest the best way is actually to register on that site, because actually that would start the conversation going.
Yeah.
And then we would know on that site or the Hampshire County Council under the GDPR would be able to actually start to look at those areas. I'll try it out on a couple of the sites, a couple of the addresses with people, or Jackie could, and then we can see if it works, because it may not take a private address.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, and maybe I'll and I know Antonio's on here, so maybe this is something we bring up at the next the committee for the parish council meeting, because it's something I think we need to address as a whole, because there are, like you are right, Steve, there are quite a few variants here, depending on phase, whether it's shared ownership, whether rent, and then we've got all the private blocks who have concerns. So yeah, I think it's something we will have to come back on how we split this up, but I think we need to take it to the parish council. I know Antonio wants to say something.
Okay, right. Yes, Antonio, I think we'll just open it up there. I'm very conscious of time, and it's getting close to 8. Antonio.
Very quickly, I can say that I can say that the screening is relatively easy because 1B and 1A, the other Rupert, and we are fully aware of the legislation mentioned, do not have electrical charger. Then over 786, 87 occupations at the moment, more than 420 were not supposed to have it, 1A and 1B. Above the remaining 360 roughly, there are all the other shared accommodation that do not have because of technical problem. Then I mean it's not so difficult because it's geographically well located, the 1A and 1B area, the most north, the most south phases in the development, that many of the owner of the houses have bought, as you mentioned, Steve, for yourself, also for myself is the same. They bought their own charger, at his own cost for the cars, but that is a different issue. But where there are not car chargers is not so difficult to be identified as a general issue, let's say.
Yeah, I understand the principles, Antonio. It's just, you know, in the end, someone needs to take the lead in producing you know, this is a spreadsheet job. Ultimately, it's going to be a spreadsheet job to work out where all the different things are, where all the different problems are, and what the different classifications are. I know that's not too far. It's a line of business that you might well be in your your professional life of working out different categories. So as I say, I'm just looking for someone to take a lead, and I think Jackie Shawley's proposal of let's have it raised at a parish council meeting, that might be a method by which we can get the relevant information, and then we can work out how to do it, how to communicate it without breaking any GDPR rules.
Yep.
Okay, right. So Rupert and Alison.
I'll move off this slide, but yeah, appreciate the and that sounds like a very sensible way of approaching it. And we'll support and help where we can. So and then just looking ahead to the bigger picture, and you can see a master plan for the whole of Kings Barton. And the scheme, just to give you this slide hasn't changed, but just to keep in the back of your mind that we've got 3B, which we have got recently received planning permission on, and we aim to start on site at the end of this year. 4B will start, and these are very, very high level timescales, but we'll start mid 2028, and then 4A start on site mid 2029, but you can see that kind of progression and movement through the site, and it puts a bit of context on the bigger picture, because there is still a lot more for us to go at. And then the last slide is just thank you for allowing us to present. Happy to take any further questions.
Okay, any questions for Rupert and Alison? Members, I know. Hello, is someone trying to ask a question? Sorry, Alison.
Apologies. There was one other point that issue was the full-size Muga.
Oh yes.
If you go back to the slide.
This one.
Yeah. So on the screen there, you can see there was a pitch that's proposed. That's part of the outline. As we've given an undertaking previously, that a full-size Muga will be delivered. Winchester City Council officers have asked for written confirmation, and I'll hope to issue that this week, and that will go to Winchester officers. So it will be a commitment that, subject to all the necessary network rail requirements, because we are next to the railway line, any sort of technical issues that we're not aware of, but it is our aim to provide a full-size Muga in that location on phase 4A.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. Right. Okay. Members, have we got any last questions? It is 8 o'clock now. Oh, there was I don't know if Councillor Todd has rejoined. I suspect he hasn't. We were going to ask Jackie to talk. Oh my gosh, Jackie did it again, didn't I? Jackie Porter, that is. Jackie, are you able to? Are you still with us?
Yes, I am, Porter. I'm just saying that I was asked specifically to find out when the TRO was going to go through.
Yeah.
We've done extensive attempts at trying to get this detail.
Yeah.
We were advised it was going to be May and then, but possibly September. The officers are expecting it for September, but there was, as Ruth mentioned, there was an additional piece of planning that needed to go through first. There isn't a specific date for September, but the officers have committed to, the moment that's actually public, that they will let everybody know, because they know they're likely to get people turning up to make deputations. So they're trying to make that as open as possible. It won't be during August, it will probably be during September, but we don't know the exact date yet.
Okay.
That's my that was my commitment back to this event, and I'm sorry that we haven't got a more specific date.
Yeah. Okay. I was just there's some points that were raised by in the KBRE report, and I know we're at 8 o'clock, so we probably don't want to get into the detail on these. But for example, in item number 6 was requested a copy of a safety audit report for the length of Winchester Avenue. And the request there is, will Hampshire County Council provide that? This feels like it's asking for...
If it were provided, it would be part of the submission for the TRO.
Would it? Right. And it may not be provided. And there's a whole load of detail in there, which strikes me as like, you know, the safety audit report might be one thing. The map showing positions of pedestrian accesses and road crossing positions might be a different thing, rather than all being one thing. Would that be? Do you think that would?
Yeah, there were three separate. There were 3 separate TROs, if you remember. There was one about the actual, one about crossings and the road layout. There was one about the new junction and the speed limits, and there was one about the tables. And they're all separate, so they will all be, I presume they will all be heard at the same time.
Yeah.
But those...
But isn't a safety audit report, isn't that what is produced? Isn't that part of the I mean, maybe Rupert
might like to ask that, because
isn't that a part of the process of, you know, having built the road, and then you have to do various safety audits at various stages when it's sort of partially running, when it's fully running, and all the rest of it before you can transfer it. But that's a separate thing from the TROs, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if there is a link into the TROs, but the road safety audits go right through design, and then when the road is into use, and you have different stages, 1 to 4. So 1 is almost pre-design, 2 is during design, and we're just at the tail end of the design elements at the moment. We're about to go into the RSA stage 3, which will happen in August. So we'll see that they can physically see the built road before it goes into use, and then 4 is when it's in use. How that then fits into, I'd imagine, and I am making assumptions here, but it will inform. So the TRO is to do with, you know, the use of the road and the legal use of a road. So parking restrictions, speed controls on the side, on the road. So if there is when in the RSAs, if they see a need to change something with regard to the use of the road, like a speed control, that is probably where it feeds into the TRO process, because it would start to affect any applications. But you have TROs on existing roads, so the likelihood is, and you'd get the road working anyway, and then anything that is known would feed in and be a variation to an existing TRO, I would imagine. But they might be able to loop it in time for these TROs. I don't know, Jackie. I don't know if that's your understanding as well.
It's not normal to have the TRO with a safety audit, but in this case there may be. It's the only time I can think it would be relevant at this particular point.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we've got a brand new junction, haven't we, brought into the whole thing?
I mean, it's not your normal situation that we're working with, so they might be using special powers to bring some of that in to manage the situation. But the design,
Yeah, from what I'm hearing from that, Rupert, there isn't just a safety audit report. They do safety audit reports at multiple stages through the process, covering different things before eventually roads are adopted. So I think this point number 6 in the KBR report needs quite a bit of unpicking, doesn't it? And actually questioning, okay, what would you do with it? You know, and there's it's really one where
is it relevant to the TRO as well?
Yeah, exactly. So okay, I think we need to have a look at that and qualify that. And Jackie, surely, I think you're the putative chair, even if I think Mike Slynn is still chair, is he?
No, he has stepped down, but we can't appoint until our AGM in November.
Okay. So I think we need to.
I'll get more clarification on that one. I've heard what Rupert said, and that sort of makes sense to me. And bear in mind, I'm just jumping in on this one. So
I know.
Let me go back and.
We can liaise with you between times, I think.
That's what I wanted. That's why I raised it, Jackie. Is I feel like that's one where we need to really understand. Okay, what are we trying to achieve with that? And we're not just taking actions just for the sake of it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Any other business before we wrap up? If I could I'll certainly thank, while looking for hands to go up, Alison and Rupert, thank you very much for your presentation. Hopefully you can get Canva converted into a PDF so we can have that presentation on file, because I think the dates are really useful when issues come up. And questions come up, that we can refer to that and say, okay, this is the date that Carla are saying and have put down in their committed plans. So it can help to clarify some of those questions that come up. Jackie, you've got one hand up.
Yes, please. Under the S278, Carla did the work under the Wellhouse Lane Railway Bridge, and there are 2 lights. Well, there were, but one was broken quite some months ago, and it's still broken and not mended. Whose responsibility is it to replace that light?
Given the nature of what's going, it's the Highways Authority's responsibility, so they will be fully adopted.
They are fully adopted now, are they?
That would be my. I don't think we'd be allowed to open that junction because it's traffic signalling.
No,
it's such a sensitive area.
It's just the light under. It's
street
not the
lights.
light. It's
the street light. Sorry.
Under the top of the. I've actually got the photograph and the number of the number plate of the vehicle that did it. I reported it as damaged. It's on the roof of the arch.
On the soffit of the bridge. Again, it would be the same point. I don't think we'd be allowed to open that and finish the work without it being taken on to the Highways Authority responsibility. But I'm happy to take that one away. Can
I copy you and Tim Norton into that conversation?
Do. Yeah, of course you can.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else got any other business or any items that they feel they want to make sure we raise next time? You know how to get in touch with me if you've got issues you want to raise next time. It would be good to get them on the agenda in good time before the meeting, so that we can make sure that folks are at the meeting who can prepare to answer those questions. Okay, with that then, there's no further hands up, so we'll have, yeah, no further hands up, so let's close the meeting at 20:09. Thank you very much for bearing with us in the heat.